So Greg, I mean, I'm not sure if I need to tell you this, but some of your shirts are kind of crappy. I mean, you know,
What do you mean by crappy? They got a sweet little pocket right here.
I mean they
That's
could be better. I mean, there's a place I know where it has lots of cool stuff. Uh,
yeah, but how cool?
we're talking about triple A cool. We're talking about shirts from 86.com. They're a pretty cool site. They sell all types of merchandise, including t-shirts, keychains, and other cool stuff that they sell on their site. And also have awesome video game material as well, such as Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, Guilty Gear, Skullgirls, Blaze Blue, Smite, and 86's own brand of t-shirts as well as other stuff. Recently they put out some new keychains for Street Fighter 5. So yeah, there's some awesome stuff there. So I'm just suggesting, next time you go out and buy a shirt of any kind, I suggest check out 86.com. And if you want to support us and them at the same time, please use this link in your web browser to check out 86.com. Put in www.86.com question mark AFF equals 4. Again, www.86.com question mark AFF equals 4. This link will tell them that we sent you and that we're cool with them as long as you're cool with us. Thank you and enjoy the show. And there you go. All right. You see blackness. It's indeed for me a very black day. A certain team lost, so I figured this would be a appropriate way to open the intro. But hello, everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Star Podcast. Welcome to another episode to Mission Star Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Bionis. With me is my partner in crime, the one to my right on my screen, the top left, top right, I should say. None other than Greg Dietz.
Hi, I'm wrong about everything apparently.
Yes, apparently you are. But yeah, we are back with another week, another episode of Mission Star Podcast. Another week of video game news. And we got some news for you for this week. So, let's dig right in and start with the first thing I have set right here, actually. Okay, so, remember a game called Inside? Like, it came out last year and it was pretty good. It was very artsy and very, I would say dread.
Artsy.
It very, the color palette was very gray and it was just kind of, I did like a very indie game that it was like in limbo. Well, the reason why I brought it up, apparently, this is reported off of NeoGAF, but was also reported, I believe, off of, let's see if I can find the link here. This is posted. I was posted on a, oh wow, this is like a European, okay, somebody translated the article. Okay, so it was posted on a European website because the Playdate it's in Europe as far as like the company is. And what was it? Somebody on NeoGAF translated it. And the title is Play Dead. Limbo Inside co-founder paid $7.2 million to leave company after power struggle. People probably already know that Dino Patty, co-founder of Play Dead, left the studio with the other co-founder, Art Jensen, staying back in July 2016. Yesterday, in the Danish financial news paper, Borsen, I'm going to mispronounce that, it was revealed that there was been quite a messy divorce between the two, with lawyers and having to buy out the co-founder. Here are the Cliff Notes version, loosely translated. The conflict started in 2015 when Patty felt that the last couple of years has been a bit of a silent at the office for my temper. You make a new game for every 4 or 6 year, so not much going on. The resolution of the conflict broke down who owned the rights of the games. Since 2015, the two creators were not on speaking terms and only communicated through lawyers, which each party tried to gain the control of the company. On the 10th of November 2015, Art Jensen wrote that, quote, "After heavy consideration, I have to find other avenues to continue my creative activities through," unquote. This shocked Patty, who went and removed Jensen as executive from Playdead CVR registry, since to him it is very clear that Jensen didn't want to work there anymore. After some time, the Danish business authority has forced Patty out due to continued disagreement between the two parties. Patty was paid 50 million DKK, or 7.2 million US dollars, for 49% of the company. Art Jensen refused to comment. Patty thinks that he wasn't compensated for the company. Actually, it's worth, and he would still at any time trade his 50 million for a solution to make him co-director of the company. When questioned, Patty feels that it's like asking about a divorce from a girlfriend. It's very personal. So, with all that being said, yeah, a lot of internal struggles apparently happening within the Play Dead studio, which recently even like announced that they are making a new game. Recently, they haven't said what it was, but they had like an image of like a star you see in the night sky, so maybe a hint of what's to come. Yeah, no, it's 7.2 million to leave. That's A, a lot of money. B, that's a lot of money to pay somebody to leave.
That's. I mean, it's sounds like that's more than what Konami did for Kojima.
I know, right? Yeah. If freak man, like that would have been cool for at least for Kojima, but then again, Kojima doesn't need it. He can make money on its own. But yeah, like it's always hard to see like these companies have these internal conflicts, because like especially with Playdead, like I love Limbo and I love Inside, so kind of seeing how, you know, behind the scenes like of what with this company, it saddens me, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, business is a business, so
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough. But I think
You
that
see the camera cut for a second, just so you know.
okay.
No, it didn't cut. Sweet. Never mind.
But yeah, like it was I think that not too much to say other than the fact that, you know, I wish you know, if they're making a new game ready, then, you know, that's a bright light actually. I see your screen for a second, you're like, it's just
because I open up Pandora so I can have some background music while we do the podcast, because it's just silence right now, just your voice, and I'm like, it's something a little bit extra. And so I opened up Pandora and it was just like white with the Pandora, and I'm like, oh hey, hey there app.
Yeah, just overexposed, just like over all your face, neck, and chest. But yeah, can't say much about it. In fact, you know, it's just kind of crazy amount of money that's involved. So, yeah, but I digress. So, moving on.
Stop digressing.
Moving on to the next story we have. So this one's an interesting one. So remember, okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you remember the day when Microsoft entered the game industry?
Kind of. I remember more of the time because I had let me tell you a conversation I had and what game I was playing at the time. when I had this like Microsoft had joined the game market. I don't know if they had come out with the Xbox quite yet or if they just had, but it was the same year, right?
Yeah.
So close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing my Dreamcast and I'm playing Sonic Adventure, saying that this is the pinnacle of gaming right here, and that Microsoft has no rhyme or reason to join the game market. So there was that. But other than that, what are you referring to?
So I remember, actually, ironically, I too had a Dreamcast. I was playing, I think, Sonic Adventure 2 as well. I might have been playing like NFL 2K11 or one of the NFL games at the time. Playing multiple games, Quake, 3 Arena, and whatnot. And on that day, as I'm trying to go through this entire thing, on that day, you know, I was my dad actually told me like, hey, Microsoft's bringing out a game console, and there's gonna be Oddworld on it, which I'm, you know, a huge Oddworld fan. And it's like, oh wow, awesome! Let's get it. And he did it. The reason I bring this up is because recently, the past week, Fox, talking about, you know, the entertainment giant that is Fox, has joined the game industry. Let me bring up the B-roll here. So this is from GameSpot.com by Eddie McCurch. TV and film giant Fox creates a gaming division. Will also work on VR and AR. It's called Fox Next. Fox, the media behemoth that makes TV shows and movies, is now getting into gaming, according to the Hollywood Reporter. The company announced this week that it has formed a new division, Fox Next, to head up the development on video game, virtual reality, and augmented reality productions. The division will also work on location-based entertainment such as theme parks. Fox Next will also work with Fox TV films and shows on in division. Hang on, I put it. Yeah. Let me go back and say that again. Fox Next will work with Fox TV and film divisions on all of this. In regards to upper management, Sally Maheta, who was the president for content management at 20th Century Fox Film, will be Fox Next CEO. Before joining Fox, he worked on NBC Universal. So yeah, Fox is entering the game industry. I am curious to see what they do.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like they're trying to compete in the console market. It just sounds like they're trying to compete in the market itself. Like, you kind of gave me a curveball there by asking me about how I felt when Microsoft entered the market.
Mm-hmm.
But Microsoft entered the market with a console.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't sound like that's what Fox is doing.
No. It is basically just video game based. I mean, the comparison I'm obviously drawing between Microsoft and Fox is the fact that, you know, both companies were, you know, in its own right, like, you know, what right or what kind of thinking were people were talking about as far as, like, you know, how could they enter the game industry? What do they know about games? You know, so
right.
It's kind of it's kind of the same.
Well, I think the game market is such a huge market right now that there are literally hundreds of thousands of people wanting jobs in the game industry. Fox is not going to have a hard time hiring those people. The question that should be asked right now is, how are they going to run this business? Is it going to be like how they do their network? Because if that's the case, it's not going to do well.
Yeah.
At least amongst gamers.
Yeah.
And it's all about IPs. You know, like we kind of talked about it last week on the Nintendo Switch podcast. They can come out with all the fancy tech they want, but at the end of the day, what are we playing? Is it fun?
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. So I'm really interested to see what they come out with. I don't personally believe that it'll be like based off of any IP necessarily. I mean, they might do like a Simpsons, like, hey, you can traverse through their house sort of thing and mess with
Oh yeah,
stuff or whatever.
there's no doubt it would be a Simpsons game. The question would be good or not is hit or miss.
Right.
Yeah, but I am interested to see what they do. It no doubt there'll be a Simpsons game of some sort. Maybe they'll have a game on 24, or maybe they'll have a game on some other show they've done. I'm very interested.
I mean, they've
what
had
they
games
do.
on those properties before.
Yeah. So this time around,
So.
they actually own the property, or own the IP, so they can do whatever they want. But we'll see. I mean, I am very curious to see what Fox does. As far as a big media conglomerate, like, whatever hearsay you may think of, like, there's still, pretty big dogs out there as far as, like, what they put out there produce wise, shows, movies, and whatnot.
Yeah, sure.
So it's gonna be very interesting. We'll see. In due time, we'll see how it goes. But we'll see.
Yep.
Speaking of, well, okay, I'm gonna make a weird transition here.
Weird segue.
Yeah, weird segue. Speaking of superheroes that were once good but now were bad, yeah, Marvel or DC. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at.
What? Where are you going? Hold on.
I mean, stay with me. It's a weird ride right now. So the reason why, it's a weird transition is because, speaking of comic books and whatnot that Fox has with Fantastic Four, this past week we were shown a new trailer by Ed Boon himself. Well, not Ed Boon himself, but the company, NetherRealm Games, on Injustice 2. And Injustice 2.
I still haven't watched that trailer, believe it or not.
Oh my god, it's so good! It's so good. I will spoil some stuff for you right now, so if you do not want to be spoiled,
go. It's a trailer. Go ahead.
So it's this trailer right on your screen for those who are watching at home.
I am watching it right now, actually, while you talk.
So this past week we were shown the trailer for Injustice 2. They showed off some new characters in the trailer. As well, it was much more of a story trailer, kind of a what's to come. It looks like it's going to be a continuation from the last Injustice game, or what happened at the end of Injustice 1 that looks like to continue Injustice 2. One of the things that was in the trailer that was revealed for characters, and as I bring up the article, which both articles are from, let's see, this is from WWG.com, a division of comic books. This is written by Matthew Hayes. Injustice 2, new characters revealed. So here are the characters that were shown in the trailer, as you can see, as well as like what has been announced so far. First off, Darkseid is a pre-order bonus. So if you want to play Darkseid, you can have to pre-order him for the game. The other characters that were shown in the trailer, as I scroll through here, were Poison Ivy, Bane, Brainiac. We got Robin, Poison Ivy, and I think I was like majority. I think I was it. Yeah. So not a whole lot that was showing off of the characters, but a really cool story trailer they showed off. I love the idea of where it's going. I love the fact that Brainiac is a new evil in this game.
I don't think. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I have an idea of where the story is going in this one, and I don't think it's a continuation of the last one.
It looks necessarily, but it looks like a continuation of what happened last time. They show scenes from the last game.
Would you like to know my idea?
Yes, go for it.
It's based off of something within the Injustice lore.
Yes, please.
So back. Well, I heard myself for a second. Someone else was talking. I was like, whoa. Back when they came out with the game, if you remember, spoiler talk, the end of the game is Batman and the Earth 1 Superman locking up the, like, power-hungry Superman in a red light chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way that story actually ends is not in that game. It actually continues in the comic. And the way that story ends in the comic is they travel back in time. I don't know if with Flash or what. I just know they travel back in time. They're able to prevent Lois Lane from getting killed by Superman.
Oh.
Because Batman's like, don't do this, don't do that. That's how this gets activated. Make sure that bomb doesn't go off. Like, we're good. So they prevent the bomb going off in Metropolis. They prevent Lois Lane from getting killed. And Superman is like, you tried to kill my pregnant wife. Like, you deserve to die. And Batman's like, don't do anything, Superman. Like, I will handle the Joker. And Batman goes, or Superman says, like you always handle the Joker, where he's going to get out and try this again. And Batman goes, I promise he will never do this again. Like, you have my word. So then it's Joker and Batman in the Batmobile, and they're driving to a location, and Batman Joker's, taunting him with the way that Joker does. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of a sentence, Batman just snaps Joker's neck. Literally,
whoa,
turns his entire head around, like no joke.
Wow.
And then stops off at the GCPD and goes, I'd like to report a crime. The next shot is Superman talking to Bruce Wayne behind glass at a jail. And Bruce Wayne is just like, thank you for what you did. Like I'm glad I didn't have to kill him. And Bruce says, look, he was going to do it again. He was going to hurt more people. And I just, I needed to stop it. But now I deserve to, I committed a crime. I deserve to do the time.
Wow.
And Superman then walks through everything because he's, Superman. And he hugs Bruce Wayne and he just says, thank you again. And he goes, say the word and we're out of here. And Bruce goes, no, I have to do the time. I got another 2 years, but that might be longer because I'm beating up a lot of people in here.
That's
but
great.
I appreciate it. Just, I'll be fine. Superman takes off, and that's the end of that story. So that universe in which, we played doesn't exist anymore.
That's interesting.
So now there needs to be a new thing. And my idea is that the Injustice 2 actually takes place after that comic, after Batman gets out of jail.
Okay. That would be interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool. I like it.
Yep.
I like it. I am very, very...
The problem,
before
you finish that thought, the problem
uh-huh.
is how do they integrate that comic ending into the game? And make sure that players aren't like, well, this doesn't make sense to the first game.
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
You don't want a Halo 5 situation where you need to have read and played and watched like 18 other things.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely do not want to be in that situation where you have to read prior books that only the hardcore would like have read or know about, and like
Right.
you expect the audience to know and they don't. If I were to guess, they might do the same thing as like just fall like maybe like redo the comic in a way that that incorporates into the game, into this game story, and then maybe continue off of that into the new evil, which is Brainiac. It looked like in the trailer like there was a moment.
Well, I was gonna say the lockup that Superman is in the trailer is not the same one that he's in at the end of Injustice 1.
Isn't it? I thought it was.
No. The Injustice 1, he's in like a circular like a saucer looking thing, and there's red sunlight hitting him, but he's not chained up at all.
Interesting.
As far as I remember, I have to look that up because I don't remember him being chained up. And it's certainly a circular room. It's not a box.
Right.
Also, I'm not seeing any Joker in that trailer. At all.
Well, there is a glimpse of him, only for him to he's getting killed by Superman, and that's a silhouette of him from the first game.
Oh, yes, okay, yes, but that's technically a shot from the first game, but it's also in like a black background, which seems to me like changing the course of history actually like altered everyone's mind, and everyone remembers the events of the first game, but none of it actually happened kind of idea. I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. I'm super excited. I think that what NetherRealm did with Injustice, with the story, is so good. I cannot wait for Injustice 2.
Here's the important part about Injustice 2. the gameplay is going to need to be phenomenal, and they're going to need to add more characters than Injustice 1 had.
Well, speaking of characters, glad you brought that up, because on the same site, on www.com, there was a report of a leak, potentially, of all the characters for Injustice 2. And this leak also confirmed, this is off of 4chan.com, so again, this is a leak, but take it for a grain of salt. It did nail the previous characters that were announced for the game so far. So the leak went on to explain the other characters that will be in the game. According to the post, which I won't link here because it's 4chan, the full roster is said to include 2 Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, the Green Arrow, Flash, Black Canary, Brainiac, Robin, the Damian Wayne Robin, Black Adam, Scarecrow, Dr. Fate, Power Girl, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Cyborg, Joker, and Bane, in addition to the previous other characters that were also revealed. I went on to say, typically you wouldn't think twice about this rumor. After all, many insiders stated, making bold claims about the Nintendo Switch in the days leading up to the Switch presentation that turned out to be false. When hype is high, jokers will like to cash in on the excitement and boosted their follower count. Some of those leaked characters turned out to be real, though. So even them are saying we don't typically report on this stuff, but from the leak so far, it's been right on, spot on.
So I found a direct plot summary of the game of 2.
Okay. Okay. Do you
want me to read it?
Okay. So for people who are watching at home, if you do not want to know anything about Injustice 2, hey, I'm gonna switch over. If you do not want to know anything about Injustice 2, please, I'm gonna make this a signal. All right. When I put my fingers like this, that means that spoilers are on. But now if I put it like that, spoilers are off. Are off. So I'm just trying to emphasize anybody who's watching this or listening to this. Right. Oh yeah, people who are listening to it on the podcast, you can't see me because it's a video podcast. I will let you know. So when I say spoilers are gonna be on and yada yada. Okay. So spoilers are on. So go for it.
All right. 5 years after the defeat of the High Counselor, Batman and his insurgency attempt to piece society back together while struggling against the remnants of Superman's regime who seek to restore his rule. Meanwhile, a shady new group known as the Society emerges and makes plans for world domination, eliminating any heroes that stand in their way. With several of his allies either victims of or collaborators with Superman's failed regime, Batman is forced to form a new team of heroes to combat an invading Brainiac who puts Earth's entire existence at risk. So I don't know if you want to keep the spoiler thing up. My idea is incorrect. They're not going off the comic. They're going to keep in that universe that we had in the first game and not add in the comic at all.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, spoilers are off. Hands are off from my head. All right. It makes sense in either way. I would love to see it if they incorporate the comic into it, but I think it makes more sense. It
clearly shows that they're not.
Yeah. It makes more sense if they went off the game, because that's for the most part, people who played it or watch it probably have more of a recent memory than.
Right, and it's like I said, like you don't want to have all that back lore that's not in the game used for another game. Yeah, because I know most people didn't even fucking read the comic.
Yeah, and in a way,
they played the game and that was it.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I'm really excited for Injustice 2. I think that's, for me, like the story is going to be one of the things I'm really excited for. Gameplay wise, they're doing some interesting things about it. I want to see more of it. I haven't seen much of it yet. I've seen, through gameplay trailers or whatnot, but from what it looks of it, it looks just as good as the last game. Not better, but they're incorporating this new armor system into it too as well, which is interesting. But we'll see. I mean, I have faith that it's going to be a good game when it comes out. And it's going to be one of those things where like it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out and how it will sell. So.
I mean, at the end of the day, it needs to be a good fighting game.
Agreed. I am very, very much agreed on that front. So yeah, that is that. So, as you might notice the title of this podcast, you may notice that a certain game is coming out tomorrow night, or tomorrow, or whenever it goes up. Already was leaked out a week ago in some place in a mom and pop shop, but basically, Resident Evil 7 is upon us. So this was off of Famitsu, but it was translated. Resident Evil 7 releasing free DLC, quote, not a hero, this May, plus DLC details. The Resident Evil 7 release in a week, and Capcom has unveiled more on DLC plans for Resident Evil 7. The game will be 4 pieces of DLC for Resident Evil 7 that will release throughout 2017. Ooh, cool. 3 of the pieces of DLC are for the Season Pass for $29.99, or can be bought separately for a bit more. And the 4th piece of the DLC, the first one, will be released for free for all owners in May. The free piece of DLC Resident Evil 7 is titled Not a Hero. It will release again in May. The full details are being kept under wraps. But Capcom said it doesn't star Ethan. His story is wrapped up in RE7, but another character which tells a side story that helps fill in some of the blanks in RE7's plot. Says it will give a different taste of gameplay style compared to the main game, and it's linked to how Ethan escapes in the main game. It's confirmed to be additional gameplay chapter in RE7 through a free expansion. The following DLC will be through 2017 for those who purchase the Season Pass / Deluxe Edition. All DLC confirmed to release before the end of 2017. And here are the titles of the DLC. DLC 1, Banned Footage Volume 1, Nightmare, Bedroom, Ethan Must Die. So we got new gameplay scenario, or two gameplay scenarios and 1 game mode. And then Volume 2 would be 21 new gameplay scenarios, or 21 is the title, new gameplay scenario. Daughters, new gameplay scenario. Jack's 55th birthday, new game mode. And the last bit of DLC is Unknown. So, it is upon us. Resident Evil 7. A game that we were not sure it was even a Resident Evil game to begin with. Like when we saw like the trailer and we saw the footage, like didn't they call it like some other game before they announced the official name Resident Evil 7? It was like
I don't remember, but it wasn't called Resident Evil. It was only revealed to be Resident Evil, or based off of Resident Evil or some to that effect, like well after it was already out, or at least that VR demo.
Yeah, it was Kitchen. It was called Kitchen. What they have called it.
It's called Kitchen now. I don't know if it was called Kitchen then.
Yeah, that's true. Might have been called something else. Some weird code name they put it.
Because somebody was like, when I was in North Carolina at Hutch's house, I had the PSVR, and someone was like, "You should download that and play it." And I went, "Or I like to keep everything that's inside my pants, not outside." But because I can't do horror, I just can't.
Oh,
but
yeah.
on that note, it's really great that Capcom is kind of like, hey, people like scary, not action scary, or whatever the hell 5 and 6.
Yeah, I hear you. Although to be fair, I think 4 or 5 or I'd say like the most recent Resident Evils are actually pretty fun, even though they're not as scary.
Here's the thing. So 4 and 5 are great.
Yeah.
4 and 5 are awesome. They wanted to go more eerie than scary, because I think 1, 2, and 3 was definitely like scary, because you didn't know what was going to be around that corner as you did tank controls. But then 4, 5, and 6 did third person controls, and when they decided to do third person controls, they, again, like I said, they went for eerie. Yeah. And the eerie in 4 is more like, what is happening? These people are weird and kind of bizarre, and you get a headshot and it's like comes out, whatever. It's eerie. And then 5 is eerie just on like numbers. Like you're just dealing with hordes of these things. And then 6 just sucks. 6 is just terrible. I actually played through all the campaigns in 6, and I was like, atrocious. Like, I
How-
did
how-
not like 6 at all.
How did you manage that? Like,
Well, so this was when I was doing the podcast with the Abaya brothers,
oh, I see, gotcha.
and I was also with Angelito, my buddy, and we did a sketch. Him and I did a sketch together, a radio-like sketch, where I was a salesman for giant box crates that have a single piece of ammo in them. But they're not very good crates. Like, you can just kick them and they fall over.
Yeah.
And then we, like, the podcast was like half of it was us making fun of the game, because there's absolutely nothing scary in 6. There's nothing eerie in 6. It's just an action game. 6 is the equivalent in my mind to Gears of War. There was nothing scary about it.
Yeah.
And or eerie or unnerving or whatever adjective you want to use in that category. None of it happened in 6. And then the story and acting was also atrocious in 6. Like, there's so many bad things about 6, and I didn't think that Capcom was going to go back to their horror roots. So I'm really happy to see that 7 is going back to the horror roots, and I will watch someone play it, because God knows I won't play it myself, because I am a tremendous wuss. By the way, hi Cody. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Like I agree. Like, I'm with you with horror games. I have exception of a few games I actually can play horror games just fine. But like Resident Evil is going off the coattails of PT. Since PT was shut down by Konami, in the game that Kojima was working on back in a year or two ago. Capcom kind of hopped on that train and kind of rode it to its completion right now, and it is definitely a game where, for me, I am not gonna play it. I'm gonna watch somebody play it. Even then, it's gonna be pretty damn scary. I'm also a big wuss when it comes to horror games, with the exception of Dead Space.
What's so weird about horror games versus horror movies is that, like, and follow me here. Now, obviously, there's the difference between playing and watching.
Oh yeah,
there's
definitely,
that difference.
Definitely.
But I even have a hard time watching a horror game nowadays because of that anxiety level. Like, in a film, whatever. Like, I could watch all the horror movies you want me to watch and nothing. A horror game, if I watch a horror game, I'm still like,
Yeah, there were some, because like at least when you're watching a horror game, like, the person has control of the character. Like, he's the one or he or she is the one that's trying to, like, figure things out, and like you also get a sense of the atmosphere while you're watching him play.
Yeah, I could barely watch PT.
Oh God, I try to watch PT. No, I tried. That stuff is scary. It's scary. So for this one, here's the thing about this one. Like, I really want to know the story for RE7, because like they did say it's going to be taking place after RE6. So I'm wondering, like, how exactly is that going to be tied into the Resident Evil lore? Like, who exactly is the woman on the other side of the phone? Like, was that Ada Wong? Like, I really want to know, but I'm gonna be like, I'm going to probably not have good night's sleep if I watch, and I'm going to. I will say I will enjoy people who are going to play it in VR, because that actually will be pretty funny. See them just lose their minds, like, yeah. But it's crazy the fact that Resident Evil 7 is a thing. Like, it's crazy the fact that
I didn't think it was gonna happen.
No, nor did I.
Legitimately didn't think it was gonna happen, because there was a couple factors that went into it, and that was like a lot of like internal Capcom stuff. So I'm really happy to see that Capcom is able to keep the franchise alive. I think they put a lot of R&D into it too, like, because they put a lot of their ducks into that Street Fighter V pond.
Yeah.
So hopefully this can do something as well. But
and this is
I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna play 7.
Yeah,
like,
there's no way.
unless someone donates an absurd amount of money to some organization under my name, and is like, now you have to play Resident Evil 7, then I'll play it. But other than that, it's not gonna happen.
So, okay. I want to ask how much? How much we talking?
Oh, I don't know. A good grand. Just
A
drop a
good-
grand on like Planned Parenthood, and I'll play it.
All right. Well, Heat, can you make it happen? Can you? The statement's been out there, so yeah. I'm gonna clip it later too. But other games to mention as in the chat is talking about Fatal Frame. It's another one that just another scary one I cannot do. Oh man, the paranormal things I cannot handle. I'm a big wuss when it comes to anything horror. Which is funny because I played Dead Space 1 and 2. I haven't finished 3 yet, but it's that's the exception. But yeah, no, I'm hoping that RE7 does well. I think that it's right now it is the first true virtual reality game since VR came out for PSVR, the Vive and whatnot. So it's gonna be the first true VR game.
True? You mean like story based?
Yeah, like a true game, not like a gimmick that some of the games that our VR have right now.
I feel like there's a few games that aren't gimmicks. There was a game that I played while at Hutch's house that it was really, really cool. So the idea was it was a point and click kind of thing, but imagine you were like a god looking down on these platforms and you move this girl from location to location, or at least you point her to go to those locations, and that was awesome. And I'd love to play the whole thing, and it was available. I just didn't have $15, but as for like, I guess a first person storyline that's gonna be quite a few hours. Yeah.
I mean, like I think it'll do well. I think it'll be fine. I think that it may pave way for more RE games in this style. Who knows? The future holds many things, but on this podcast we predict many things. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. So, but yeah,
I'm
RE7
mostly right and you're mostly wrong. I'm sorry.
RE7 is coming out tomorrow. In some cases, tomorrow night for some people, and it's gonna be insane. So, yeah, RE7. Welcome to the family, son. All right, so moving on to the next story. Also, this past week, we got a bunch of new stuff about Fire Emblem. So Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct for Fire Emblem, showing off some upcoming Fire Emblem games. Hot off the heels of the Fate series they just recently did. So here are the games that are listed from their Fire Emblem Direct that they did. So featured titles: Fire Emblem Echoes, a 3DS game, launches on May 19th, based on the Fire Emblem Gaiden for the NES. It features free roaming on maps and in dungeons. Also coming are amiibos for the title. Fire Emblem Switch, the new title exclusively on Switch, coming in 2018. No additional info yet. Fire Emblem Warriors, by the team behind Hyrule Warriors, coming in for both Switch and Nintendo 3DS in the fall of 2017, which is basically the same people who did, the whole what do you call it? It's a Toei Ketmo, or it's the Warriors. It's a Dynasty Warriors. There we go. Dynasty Warriors series. Yeah, basically that.
Going with this.
And lastly, the one I'm actually more excited for is Fire Emblem Heroes. For smartphones, features an all-star cast of characters from previous Fire Emblem titles to be used in an 8x6 grid battles. Features microtransactions for orbs, with which heroes can be summoned. Orbs can also be acquired during the game. Summons are apparently random. Defeat heroes in hero battle mode to defeat them, or to have them to join you. Also included are seasonal events, and voting for characters are open now with the link they posted here. Yeah, there's a bunch of new Fire Emblem stuff during the Direct. I think I'm more excited for Echoes and Heroes are the two games I'm more excited for.
I was gonna say, if you're a Fire Emblem fan, that's awesome news. I don't play the franchise, so I was kind of cold on it.
Right. It's funny because it was a series that actually I should have gotten on board long ago, only because I loved playing Advance Wars back in the day. I played the crap out of 2, and apparently Fire Emblem is just that, but just like with swords and magic. which I'm down for. But yeah, I'm digging the mobile version of the game. It's out right now for Android. iOS is later on. But it's basically like kind of your RTS games. In a sense of like you take turns. In terms of like
Yeah, I've played a Fire Emblem game like way long ago, but yeah, I just didn't like it that much, I guess.
And I'm also excited for Echoes, which is a remake of Gaiden. It is it's a total remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden that came out for the NES, and they actually explained in the trailer. This is what the game used to look like, and this is the story was, and yada yada. It's like, oh, that's really cool. I'm really down for that. So yeah, it's really cool. There's a ton of there's been a ton of Fire Emblem games coming out for the past year or two, more so than usual. Like I feel like Nintendo is like using this as the new cash cow for them, as of Pokemon used to be, but now it's this or Mario.
I think Nintendo as a whole will be pushing a lot more Japanese games to an American market.
That is true. Region lock.
The region lock is yeah.
Good point.
So there's that.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely a lot of cool stuff, and people are excited for sure. And I'm pretty sure there'll be one for. Oh, I already said for the Switch, right? But pretty sure there'll be more for the Switch in the coming years. But yeah, there you go, Fire Emblem fans. You got some more stuff coming right at you. And speaking of the Switch, we could have not we could not have what's the word I'm looking for? We could not stop from last week's episode where it was nothing but the Switch. But we got follow-up information about the Switch, details, and other good stuff around the web. So let me
around the web.
So let me bring up some news articles here. So I'll start off with Polygon.com. This was written by Allegra Frank. The Nintendo Switch won't kill the 3DS. When Nintendo first revealed its new handheld home console hybrid system, the Switch, I was convinced that it will be more than a replacement for the Wii U. It would take place of Nintendo 3DS too. After going hands-on with the Switch last week, however, I am not sure that's the case. Despite its stature and portable-friendly features, the Switch doesn't read quite like Nintendo's next move on the handheld space. Instead, the tiny console feels more like a tiny console. This is something I wanted to kind of pivot into as far as like, there has been talk as far as like, is the 3DS, like how exactly is Nintendo balancing between what Nintendo Switch is versus what the 3DS versus their mobile? Because like, they're the one, Nintendo was the ones out there saying like, you can bring this on airplanes, like you can take this on the go, and that kind of brought up conversations like, so then is this a replacement for the 3DS? Is this like, how exactly are they balancing out, the three pillars of what they're doing right now between mobile, 3DS, and the Switch? Obviously, the Switch is obviously looked upon more as a console than the 3DS, which is more looked upon as the mobile, like your portable gaming device. But
I think it'll depend on the games primarily. I don't think that a developer who's making a game for console, like let's say the new Call of Duty comes out and it comes out to the Switch, it's not going to be on the DS. Things like that. Like I don't know where else to go with that, but other than that category, I think what you're talking about is a concern that I don't think they have. When it comes to what games are on the DS or what's played on DS versus what's played on console, they're kind of not the same. And just say anybody, for example, is like, hey, I'm going to bring my DS and my Switch onto the plane, just in case. Or I'm going to take my DS and Switch with me. I think that's what Nintendo wants. They want people to have both readily available. And again, I think it's going to come down to the games. Plus, like also the big factor between the Switch and the DS is the second screen. There's no second screen for the Switch. So
yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's still a lot of money you're carrying if you can think about it. Like the Switch, like the portable version, and then you get the 3DS with you. That's like a good, like what, $400 right there in your hands.
Yeah, it's also the DS is also a cheaper console and has cheaper games and
Yeah, definitely.
the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. More news came out this past week when it comes to Nintendo Switch. Supported by NintendoToday.com. Reggie, quoted here, Switch matchmaking in lobbies handled through the phone app. One of the shocking announcements from this last week's Nintendo Switch event was how the console would handle online interactions. Players will be able to use an upcoming app on their smartphone to talk to other players online. In a new interview with GameSpot, Nintendo of America President Richie Fils-Aimé discussed the app in a little more detail when asked about the smartphone tie-in to the Switch. Reggie responded with the following message, quote, the smartphone app that we're creating that will be part of our online service, we believe it is going to be a very compelling part of the overall proposition because that's how you voice chat. That's how you do your matchmaking and create your lobby. We also think it's a very elegant solution because if you have taken your Switch on the go, you put yourself in a hotspot where you're looking to get a quick match of Mario Kart and to whip out some sort of bulky gamer headset is a bit of a challenge. So we think that this is an elegant solution. That's a very specific answer to your question, unquote. So basically, Reggie Fils-Aimé is saying that the way that you're going to be matchmaking with people lobbies wise and talking to people is through the app. Now, Greg, we had this conversation a little earlier, just a little bit, on Twitter regarding what Nintendo's doing with this, and I can understand the fact that, you know, most people, a general populace, I would say, have a smartphone. You know, they have an iPhone, they have an Android, they have whatever. That's right. You know, the case. And I understand that through their app, you know, they can reach more people than people who might have bought the console. The more I'm starting to look at what Nintendo's doing as far as how the Switch is set up. There was another news article that I have in here that's saying that the Nintendo Switch is also going to be not launching for any video apps at launch. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of curious, like, what Nintendo is aiming for. Like, it sounds to me like
they're aiming for, I can tell you, they're aiming for a mobile ideal market. Now, you kind of had an answer right there for one of the many reasons why the voice communication, the party system, all that kind of stuff is on an app instead of on the console itself. And that has everything to do with you being able to have everything on the go. Now, I had said on Twitter to you, because somebody, you sent me a link, or not a link, but you tagged me in something where a person said that, what does Nintendo expect me to hold my phone the entire time? Why? Every phone that I've ever had comes with a headset that I can plug into it and have a conversation, whether that be Discord, Skype, an actual phone call. That's a thing that I can do. I've done that on this podcast a few times.
Right. And
where I've used Skype from my phone.
Yeah, and I've done it a few times myself as well. But
now that being said, let's say you're on a plane, because apparently that's the argument of the century with this fucking thing. Let's say you're on a plane and there's Wi-Fi there, right? And you want to be in competitive matches with the airplane Wi-Fi. I don't know why you would, because that sounds like an awful time. You pay. It's a 2-hour flight, so you pay the $10 to have Wi-Fi. You connect the Switch and your phone to that Wi-Fi, right? You then connect to the app on your phone while you have the device on the tray table in front of you, and you have your controller here. That way, now you don't have a cord going from it or a cord connecting to one of the two controllers. You just have it attached to your phone. Another thing. What if a game comes out where it's a competitive fighting game where you have to use the controllers like this? Do you want an attached headset to that? No, you probably want a Bluetooth headset that's not attached to anything, while your phone's sitting off in the corner.
See, here's the thing.
Plugged into the wall.
So here's the thing about it. Like, okay. So when you define headset, you mean basically anything that you can use your headphones attached to the phone and you can speak to it. Is that just kind of to clarify?
What else would I be referring to, Anthony?
I mean, like, hey, this right here. Hang on, where's my thing? This is a headset. If I pull this thing out as a traditional headset, and that's what I think of as far as like what a headset would be thinking.
No, a headset is this or a Bluetooth headset.
Okay.
Anything that has a microphone attached to it or allows the speaker's microphone to pick up your voice.
Mm-hmm.
That is a headset.
Right. Here's
now in my mind,
mm-hmm.
if you do want grade A quality, okay, headset, come on. If you do want this kind of quality,
mm-hmm.
they do make Bluetooth, like wireless headsets that use batteries.
Right.
Problem solved.
Yeah, I just for me, I do not.
It's not as cumbersome as everyone wants to make it out to be. I'll tell you that much right now. Now, my biggest concern isn't the headset or using a phone. That doesn't bother me in the slightest, and it shouldn't bother anyone else. The question everyone should be asking is, how good is their service? Is it going to be good enough? Am I going to need Wi-Fi? Is it going to run off my data? Like, what is the service going to do? Those are the questions that everyone should be asking, not, I'm going to use a headset, or I have to talk on my phone? But like, why is anyone asking that question?
Because like at that point, you're just calling somebody. Like, I can pick up my phone and call you and like play the game in a sense that I don't need to use the app. At that point, if I'm using the app to communicate with you, then at that point it's a phone call. And that's the point that people will bring up.
It's still a party chat. Have you ever had a situation, Anthony, where you don't have the ability to, let's say Xbox Live's party system is down for whatever reason, which has happened in the past.
Okay.
And I want to play video games with my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
We will call each other on the phone and use headsets while we're playing until the party system's back up. And it's not cumbersome.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like, that's, at given times, like, yeah, the Xbox Live will go down, PSN go down, and if you want to chat with somebody online, and play your game, yes, there are multiple sources you can reach to. The thing that I was getting when I went on Twitter earlier is the fact that when it comes to the way that Nintendo is setting this up with the Switch, that we're getting more information as we're getting closer to the release date of the console and the launch games and the accessories on top of it. I'm starting to see more as far as like what Nintendo's aiming for. I think that having it, if I'm average Joe, I have a kid, I want, my kid wants the Switch and all that stuff, okay, I'm gonna look it up, I'm gonna research, like, okay, so the Switch is $300, it comes with this and this, okay, and if I want, I get the console and whatnot, and I'm setting things up, and I want to play, my son wants to play, Mario Kart, and he has to do it through the app, or if he wants to talk to somebody, he has got to do it through the app, and there are some cases where, like, again, the question, like you said, will rise, like, how is the online service going to be? Like, is it going to be through data? Is it going to go through, Wi-Fi? Is it, is the servers going to be holding up for Nintendo? Like, that's another big question. Like, are they going to be able to hold up for specifically,
those are questions I'd rather see more often than, why do I have to use my phone? I just don't understand how that is an issue or a problem. And that's another thing, Anthony. I mean, you play competitive games online, right?
Yeah.
What do you rather have? Because let's say you're playing Overwatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you say that you use the sorry, I was looking at the chat.
Yeah.
Hi Jason, by the way. Let's say you're playing Overwatch on your PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had said on Twitter, I use the the game chat. I use the voice chat in the game to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not always ideal all the time. And reason being is that there's a lot of shitty people on on competitive games.
I mean,
A lot of really, really just terrible human beings.
Yeah.
I almost never go into game chat on any game. And I play on Xbox primarily. And everyone's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I'm in a party. I don't hear them in the game because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I go into a private party, a private little lobby that allows me to not hear them. Nintendo's going, well, you never have to deal with that. Because you're gonna have to have a party regardless. Thanks, Nintendo.
It's the thing I'm coming off. The thing I'm
argue with me. No.
Want to fight you? Like the thing I'm coming off of is the fact that like for a long time, going back to the original Xbox, like we've always had like a headset when it comes to online gaming, to talking to people. You know, there were times where I want to say back in, it was for SOCOM, and people were using like Skype, and they were also talking to somebody because the service for I think like PSN whatever was pretty crappy at the time. What I'm getting at is the fact that there's always been a communication as far as like a headset connected to the console, so you can talk to somebody. And yes, like people, well, you know, there's definitely going to be a bunch of, you know, people out on Xbox Live, on PSN, or on the internet are going to be, you know, buttholes the entire time. And for the most part, like I agree with you. Like when I played on Xbox 360 back in the heyday, on shooters, Halo 2, as an example, I rarely talked on the headset. I have it on just to hear what people are talking about, but I actively did not talk at all. Just because I just want to do my thing and play games, and then I'll talk to people who are cool with me and whatnot. It is very foreign to see a console where it does not have that, where it does not have that thing that you would automatically assume that for the past, I'd say 15 years, that there's always has been a communication tool for a lot of people. Using an app feels for a lot of people to be going outside of what is expected of the norm, but like more effort to do so than to have it ready set for the console. And again, I'll add this to, if Nintendo is trying to sell their Switch, again, this is another knock at them if this is not included in their system. And you know, again, you have very good points, and I agree with some of them. But like at the end of the day, when it comes to making the experience easier for me to talk to you through the console, it's a little more troublesome than it should be. But I get the fact that now where Nintendo is trying to get as far as like the mobile.
There's a lot more avenues that well, I'm hearing an echo of myself. That's weird. It's real quick too. It's like a quick of my voice, and I'm like, what the fuck? There's a lot more avenues that Nintendo can take with an app that does voice chat and parties and all that kind of stuff versus it being on the console itself. Plus, it has to be two separate things. If you're talking about PSN and Xbox One, the party systems on both of those are completely separate things. The system itself has to be able to run now two things. Microsoft or Nintendo, they just want to run one thing. They don't want to have two things running on the console at the same time. So this allows them to have that ability to have two separate things. And again, like I told you on Skype, because you were like, I've never used Discord or Skype when I'm playing a game. Well, I have, and I know plenty of people who have. I know a ton of people who use Skype almost exclusively when they game.
To clarify, it was on console. On PC, yeah, I use Discord the entire time. Yeah, and Skype and whatnot. Yeah, it's
That's
fine.
what I was talking about. I mean, if well, on that note, if Microsoft's PC system or party system goes down, guess what I'm using?
Right.
Discord or Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And because my laptop has a really hard time running two things at once.
Right.
Primarily Discord and a game. I usually have to just run the game and then have the voice communication thing through my phone. And it works fine. I never feel like it's cumbersome. I never feel like it's ridiculous. Now, I will say this. There is one downside that I could think of. Because you know me, I think of every avenue as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest avenue that I could see a problem... I just realized how dark I am on screen.
Yeah.
I should turn on my light, but too late now. The podcast is almost over. Is game audio with the, like, let's say I have this headset with my phone, right? And I'm like, hey, I can hear everything.
That's a
but
good point.
But at the same
yeah.
time, I want to hear game audio alongside chat. That might be a little bit of an issue. Now, I'd like to see them kind of maybe implement that into what's going on, but we'll see. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, like Nintendo is making some moves that I am wondering how it's going to be, how the reaction from the game industry and the gaming general public is going to be, specifically the average Joe. Like, it seems like they're definitely trying to hit on all avenues, and shit's gonna hit the fan when March 3rd come on that day, and as far as like what the given first 6 months are going to be. So I'm very, very curious to see how they do it, and like what the reaction is going to be. I think it's hit, man. Like, not to harpen back to like last week's podcast, but like I would love again to know the numbers, because like if this is a low risk, like high reward, then they're fine. Like, they can do whatever they want. But like, I feel like if this is a console where they are selling, and at a certain point you can only play it safe for so long, and like you got to sell units of a certain amount. So like I wonder, like, how much are they aiming for? Like what exactly like is their number they're aiming for as far as like a quote unquote success, so they can move on to other things to produce more stuff for the Switch. And then in due time we'll find out. But it's just like, Nintendo, you puzzle me. But I will say this: never underestimate Nintendo. There were several times where the game industry and I felt like Nintendo was going to be out of it. I felt like they were going to be out of the console market and going straight to just making games and being a third party, and then they come back and that's like they're back in it. So never
mark my words, Anthony. Nintendo Switch comes out in March. By the time Splatoon comes out, there will be people that will complain about having to use the app. They'll find another avenue, a way around it. Discord, Skype, what have you. And then no one will complain about it.
You think so? I mean, like,
because here's what happens. Here's what happens with everything new. Here's what happens when a company does something different or unique. It succeeds or fails on its own, just based off sales or usage or whatever. And then the company tries something different. And then everyone shuts up about it. Or long before that, everyone shuts up about it. So let's take, I don't know, the Kinect, for example. The Kinect was something that Microsoft thought was going to be a big deal, was going to be a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be a colossal failure.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of shut up about it. People just stopped using it.
Yeah.
Didn't complain about it anymore.
Yeah.
Microsoft got rid of it. If this phone app thing doesn't work out for Nintendo, everyone will complain about it before the console comes out, not complain about it while the console's out, or at least not a lot. And then Nintendo will do something different.
I would argue that people will still complain about it, like, regardless. I think that they'll bring that
up.
Not
a mass majority. People always complain about something, like,
right.
Regardless.
But
I'm not no absolutes. I'm talking about a mass majority.
I do think that people will bring it up as a point to Nintendo to say, like, hey, this is an idea that you put out there. It didn't work. I didn't like it. That's my feedback. And if they get multiple of those, Nintendo will maybe start to question, like, okay, maybe it's a bad idea. We'll put it away. We'll start from scratch or whatnot.
Sure, I'm not. That's not my point. My point is that people right now are mostly confused because Nintendo hasn't come out with a ton of information.
Yeah. Well,
If they had another, like, I don't know, direct shortly before it came out, I don't know, a solid month before it comes out, so sometime in February, that talks about the UI to the system, talks about the internet, like their internet service, talks about how the app will work, that'll help a lot.
yes,
But
it
right
would.
now,
It
because
would.
there's just no information, everyone's going, everyone's speculating and complaining.
Yeah. And do
And to
you?
me, that's ridiculous. Like, if you're going to complain about what you don't know, then what's the point?
But do you think that's indicative of Nintendo for not communicating as well?
Sure, and I've said that in the past, Nintendo has a really hard time communicating, but a lot of video game companies have a hard time communicating. Transparency is key to a lot of stuff, and I think that with the Switch, with Nintendo as a whole, Brian Belcher of Heat put it best. Nintendo is a toy manufacturer. They're not a video game company. So as a toy manufacturer, they don't feel like they have to.
It,
And I think that's a big problem that Nintendo has overall.
if you're gonna label, I will halfway agree with the fact that Nintendo is kind of a toy company, only for the fact that they're more invested in that type of thing. Like if you're gonna, oops, crap, I dropped Mr. Nick or Tom Nick. They have amiibos they produce, and that was something that everybody loved, everybody loved. And like I halfway would agree with you, and they've made other products that are similar to that. If you even going back to the original NES, they had Rob the Robot, which also was a toy that came with the console. But at the same time, like not to be the guy that says technically or actually, but like if you're gonna put a video game console seen as a toy, then you had to label like, okay, so then would that also mean that PS4, the Xbox One are also quote unquote toys as well? And some people say yes, and some people say no. So like it's
Well, I mean, let's look at what PlayStation or what Sony and Microsoft do with their consoles. They do something different than Microsoft than Nintendo. Now, Nintendo, as far as I know, they weren't a huge fan that people were basically using the Wii as a Netflix machine. Um, they really were not giant fans of that. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember hearing.
hmm,
But look at how they present their consoles differently from one another. This is why a lot of people also like the console wars between Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo's over there, and that's because Microsoft and Sony really do compete to be that one overall encompassing thing you have in your living room that allows you to do all the entertainment, all of the digital streaming. I mean, that's why it's called the Xbox One. It's supposed to be the one thing you have in your living room.
right, yeah,
And Nintendo doesn't do that. Nintendo goes, we're going to have kooky, crazy things on stage because we're all basically cartoon characters. Hey, kids.
yeah, well, yeah. After that press conference from last week, yeah, or 2 weeks ago, yeah, that's definitely that fits the bill pretty well.
So I mean that's the point that I'm making with them being a toy manufacturer, is that I think that they still have that mentality of being a toy manufacturer, and they do know that there is a audience that wants the Nintendo to be their one system, their one thing.
Yeah.
So that's why they're doing the app, but they don't want that to be a major thing or major component on the console. They would rather kids, parents go, well, what console do I want to get? Do I want to get them the Xbox, the PlayStation, where they have the chance of interacting with somebody that might teach them a bad word, or they might see content that I don't agree with, or get them a Wii? No, sorry, get them the Switch, and or get them the Nintendo console, whatever have you, and allow them to have more of a like. Oh, they love playing shooters. Well, I'll get them Splatoon, but they don't interact with people. They don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You can't send messages to somebody over the console, whereas you can over the app, but the kid doesn't have a smartphone to do that. There's a lot of avenues that Nintendo is taking that show that off. I mean, to me, it's the first time that Nintendo is intentionally going out of their way to make a console that is both catering to this adult audience and the kid audience. Because overall, I mean, they've kind of been targeting a kid audience their entire time.
True.
It's just us adults. Us adults are big kids now.
Yeah.
Where we grew up at a point, we just went, well, we still want to play video games and have fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of developers and people are like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that because that's a huge, like money.
Yeah,
But
and
Nintendo's like,
yeah, I'll give you that. Like, they've been targeting the kids for God, for how long? Since like the 1980s, 1985. Was it 1987 when the NES came out? I think might be longer than that. But
I think you're right, but because I know that I got my first NES when I was 5, and I was born in '83, so I was 5. Say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, it's probably 7, 6 or 7, one of the two.
Yeah. So they've been around doing the targeting kids for a very long time. So I'll give you that. And there's like one last thing of Nintendo news is that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be the last Nintendo game for Wii U. It's being reported by Polygon.com by Chelsea Stark. Not even 4.5 years after launch, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be the final first-party title coming to the system. This is confirmed by Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé, who spoke to Polygon following the Switch launch event in New York City Friday. Quote, from first-party standpoint, there's no new development coming after the launch of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, he said. We really are at the end of a life for the Wii U. Unquote. So this is it. This is the last game, last software being made for the Wii U. Yeah, I think there was a prediction you have made on this podcast about the Wii U, and I think that that prediction was wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean that was long before. I mean, because it didn't make any sense to me for a video game company manufacturer to completely drop an entire console that fast. Because the Wii U is not that old. On top of that, like, I thought Nintendo was going to make. They are doing what I assumed they were going to do, but they're not doing it for the reasons that I thought, and that was delay the Switch to this year, so that way they could sell more Wii U's at Christmas. But at the same time, they didn't care about selling Wii U's at Christmas because, well, it's basically dead after March.
Yep.
So I'm really curious. Another thing I was gonna say on the Switch that they need to do is like a second Mario Maker.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or like a different game that's like Mario Maker, because that was a huge hit.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, I would love to see a new Mario Maker. But it would have to be something different because it doesn't use unless you use the Joy-Cons to do the select which type of thing, or maybe they'll change how you would able to select items and place them in the game. But like the Wii U was essentially this tablet for once actually was very useful in terms of like using the tablet to like coordinate like what your map's going to be using the stylus, what exactly the level's going to look like. So I'm very curious if they're going to make a new one, like what it look like on the Switch. So yeah, it'd be very interesting. But
we'll see. But
yeah.
I think that the Switch has a stylus as a touchscreen. So
that is true. They haven't talked much about it, but I forgot they do. It's a multi-touch. So yeah, okay. So the potential is there, but they haven't really talked about it.
I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited for the Switch because, well, the games. I'm excited about the games on the Switch. The console's whatever. The console's the vehicle in which the game drives, and the game is important. I'm very excited for Breath of the Wild. I'm very excited for Splatoon 2. I'm very excited for Odyssey. I want to see more games that they're going to have coming out this year for the system itself. I could care less what games the consoles come out on. I just want the vehicle in which to have the games drive, and that's what's important to me. Little things here and there about like voice communication, little things here and there about video quality when taking it out of the dock is nonsense to me. I don't care that it went from 1080p to 720p. If that's something that you're concerned with, then you're not. Then you're playing video games wrong.
Yeah, that's a total just different conversation. That I think is pretty dumb. It's gonna be in 100p, not 1080p. Like, you know, it's like, dude, it's gonna look good regardless. Either way.
Your eyes can't see. Here's the thing: your eyes can't see beyond 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So what does having 60 FPS mean?
Not everybody can have a 4K TV in their home. Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah. But regardless, that's your Nintendo follow-up news from last week and more conversations. This probably will not be the last. I mean, like, we still got about another 2 months.
Got a couple months before it comes out. And
yeah,
I'm sure there'll be no more news that'll come out.
Oh yeah, definitely. There'll be much more news. Hopefully, we'll find out more information as it comes out. But yeah, we did it. Another episode. Woo! Something to get my mind off the gamer today. So that, you know, all intents and purposes, this was for me just like coping the fact that my team lost. For those who don't know, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so we got annihilated today.
You deserve it.
Oh, I would say some bad stuff to you right now, but I can't.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm a Niners fan, and what do they do this season?
Yeah, true. Very true. Anyways, so before we end the show, as always, Greg, where can I find you on the internet?
You can tell me how wrong my opinions are on the Nintendo Switch at Twitter and Facebook under Chub Rock Geek. You can follow dumb things I do on Instagram and Snapchat. Instagram is just Chub Rock Geek. Instagram or Snapchat is Chub Rock Snap. You can follow the. I'm going to be writing more reviews this year. I have an idea for a podcast that I want to implement, so go to missionstartpodcast.com, and I'm sure you'll see more content from me there.
Yeah. Also, speaking of which, if you haven't already, please check out our YouTube channel. I recently edited a video of Greg's top 5 games of 2016. So if you haven't already, please go check it out on our YouTube channel, which you can click on the link below, or this Twitch channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that me and Greg do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. And bring up the end slide. Also, I just switched that to end. Where is that? Boom. All right, here we go. So, if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy me and Greg just pretty much calling each other bad names, check out the Mission Start podcast on our website in the podcast section at missionstartpodcast.com. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher. If you enjoyed, you know, every once in a while we'll talk about conventions we've been to, you know, our experiences, you know, what we liked them or not, or, you know, what were the best and worst moments. Check out the Conover, which is also on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as in the podcast section of our website on missionstartpodcast.com. And lastly, but not least, if you enjoy comic books, entertainment, movies, specifically during this time right now, like with the new Logan trailer that came out, it's coming out pretty soon, which really looked pretty sick. With the new Power Ranger trailer that came out, you know, definitely check out the Rolling 20s, hosted by Jeremy Wilson. It is usually uploaded every Friday on our website at missionstartpodcast.com in our podcast section, which also is available on iTunes and Stitcher. So definitely check that out if you're into that. But yeah, thanks again. Also, before I forget, and I'm probably gonna actually wearing this. Hang on, give me a second. I received some stuff from 86. Feedback.
Hey, hi. That was not loud in my ear.
Sorry, feedback. I put the mic to the headphone to the mic. Before I forget, and I'm going to do this probably for the next stream for 86 in about half hour. But I got some care package from 86. Some cool T-shirts. Hang on, I'm gonna actually take them out. So again, shout outs to 86.
Guys, this podcast became an unboxing.
So here's one of them I'm gonna show right now. Actually, everybody else. I'm sorry. So this is one of the shirts. So again, shout outs to 86. I got another one here. So this is Valentine from Skullgirls. I got a Misfortune one as well. So shout outs to them. They are obviously our sponsor for the podcast and whatnot. So there's also a link in the chat if you want to check them out. So again, shout outs to them for giving me the cool gear, and definitely with that link, go check out more stuff. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys for coming, and this has been another episode of Mission Start Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.